my name is James Montalvo. I'm here to talk about Approved Revs. It sounds like the user group yesterday talked about Approved Revs a little bit. Basically, Approved Revs is an extension that allows you to set a specific revision as the approved revision that people will go to when they go to the page. So it allows you to set a particular revision, as you see in the screen in front of you here. That's the third or fourth most recent revision. When somebody goes to the page, they will see that, and any of the subsequent revisions they will not see until someone goes in and clicks the approve button that is up on that top revision. So that has been something that has been part of Approved Revs for years. This was an extension that was authored by Yaron Koren, who's not here today, and I've been working on it recently to add some additional features. But I'm going to talk just a little bit, I think we did talk about it yesterday, but I'm going to talk just a little bit about what the current version does that I'm able to expand upon what the new version does on top of that. So when you define, when an administrator defines who can approve pages in the current 0.7 version of Approved Revs, basically in the local settings, you define certain groups. In this case, we've got sysops and editors. They have the approved revisions right, as it's set to true there, whereas normal users and people of other groups won't have that right. So if they go to the page, they try to click approve, there will be no approved link. So these groups that are set here, and by default it's just the sysop or administrator that has that right. I've added the example editors there. In the current way Approved Revs works, only those groups will have the ability to approve, and they will be able to approve everything. So anything that is approvable, they can approve. What is approvable is defined also in your local settings. By default, we have these namespaces here. So your main namespace, where all of your content resides, user namespace, templates, help namespace, and project namespace. So all of those entire namespaces are all approvable, and the specific groups can approve anything there. Additionally, there is this magic word you can add to any page to make it approvable. So if the main namespace wasn't in that list there, in that array, you could make specific pages in the main namespace for approvable by adding that text there, the __ approved revs text. So in version 1.0, we've kind of combined those two separate settings into one. So now, rather than having one thing where you define which namespaces are approvable and another thing where you say who can approve, now we say in the main namespace, group sysop can approve, and user namespace, group sysop can approve, and so on. This is essentially what is the current default for Approved Revs 0.7. Again, those are the 5 namespaces, and they're approvable by the administrators. Going a little bit more complex than that, this might be another way you might set up your wiki. You've got these 3 namespaces that are approvable. The top one, the help namespace, is approvable by administrators, and also this group that I made up called reviewers. Templates are just by administrators, and then I've come up with a namespace called blog, where it would make sense if you had a blog namespace that the person that creates the page would also be able to approve. So you're specifying which namespaces require revisions, and you're simultaneously specifying who can approve within those particular namespaces. So it allows you to be a little bit more fine-tuned with how you do that. One note here, you'll see there's a lot of duplication. I'm rewriting the group sysop in every single row there. You probably want your administrators to be able to approve everything. So to just simplify that a little bit, we've got this all pages group at the top, and it doesn't mean that sysops can approve something just because it's there. It's only if the page happens to be approvable per namespace permissions, then the sysops can approve it. It just gives them blanket approval capability. So this is identical to the previous page here where we've got those three sections, or three namespaces. It's just a little less writing, a little cleaner. Kind of like the current version of Approved Revs, the user namespace is special. You'll see here I haven't defined any particular group that is able to approve in the user namespace. However, it's special in that the particular user that page is associated with is able to approve their own page, which just seems fair. You should be able to approve what is yours. And that also applies to subpages. Okay, you can also approve not just, or set approvals not just for namespaces, but also at the page level. So here I've got two pages that are listed here. You've got the main page, which MediaWiki has, and then you've also got help contents within the help namespace. Excuse me. So what this kind of teaches us about is, we've still got the same thing with main page where you've got group reviewers and you've got the group sysop, and both of them are able to approve main page. However, with help contents here, you've got the page permissions overriding the namespace permissions. Help contents is within namespace permissions, but reviewers cannot approve that unless you specifically say you don't want permissions to override. And you'll see that in that last line there, override false. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility in how you want to set up your approvals. So in addition to, I kind of jumped over categories there, in addition to namespaces and pages, you also can set category permissions. So now I'm able to add the approval required category to any given page, and then that page will become approvable. So here I haven't said the main namespace is approvable, but any page that I add approval required to and category approval required to will now be excuse me, approvable again by the default administrators. And this is where kind of the more semantic capability comes in. You don't just have to specify by groups or by whoever created the page. You can also set properties within the page that define who is able to approve that page. And so in this case, we've set for the approval required category permissions. The property is owner is what you can set a particular user, set to a particular user within a page, and then that user is able to approve that page. So here we've used example is owner is user Sarah, and now Sarah is able to approve that page. So the question that people always ask when I get to this point is, can I go to a page and just set myself as the is owner of the page, and then I'm able to approve the page and do whatever I want? And the answer to that is mostly no. With one caveat I'll get to in a second. Provided the page has been approved before, if you go to the page and edit and add yourself as is owner or whatever the property you choose to call it, that property won't be set until that edit you just made is approved. So this is the way Approved Revs has always worked. The data associated with the page is from the approved revision. So I can't, if I don't already have the approval capability to approve my change, then I can't approve the change that allows me to make myself able to approve. If that made any sense. So the one caveat to that is that if there isn't already an approved revision on the page, then the latest revision is where the semantic data comes from. So I could add myself first I could add category approvals required, and then I could also add is owner James Montalvo. And then I'd be able to approve the page. But the page wasn't previously really approved anyway, so it's not as big a deal at that point. And as I said before, same goes for categories. If a page has a category that I can't approve, but there's another category that I am able to approve, if I add that category to the page, it doesn't allow me to just start approving that page. So as you can imagine, this could get kind of complicated if you're not using templates, so I highly recommend using templates, and it's a little different from previous usage of approved revs, where it was pretty much strictly admins who were doing the approving, and so admins knew that they had to go and approve pages, and they could keep an eye on the list of pages that hadn't or had pending approvals, and they could go and deal with it. Now it kind of spreads that out through a larger user base. It can be nice to add a kind of a banner at the top that allows people to know that this is a revision controlled page, and here's the people that are able to approve it, and you could add why they're able to approve it, and it's something we do. We do a lot of create a lot of lesson plans to teach people in our organization. So our lesson plans have to be revision controlled, and this is how we do it. The other thing that version 1.0 adds is the ability to approve files. That wasn't possible before. Now we're able to say that a particular image or PDF or whatever, that a revision of that is the approved revision. One slight difference is for pages, you're going to go to up to the view history here at the top, and you're going to go look at the page history, and you'll see the revision there. Files, it's a little different. It's right on the file page, so it's actually a little easier. You don't have to go in one less click. Thank you. Yeah, I've been sick, so sorry. So it's one less click, it's right on that front page, and it shows you which one is approved. So you can see here, this is showing a couple of different, or 3 different revisions. One's kind of hidden there. You can see the only difference between the 2 images is it says R2 and R3, so revision 2 and revision 3. The revision 2 is the approved revision. You go to a page where that image exists, it's going to show revision 2. Likewise, if you link directly to the file in that bottom line there, where it says media links like this one, link to the approved revision, you click on that link, it's going to bring you to the approved version, not the latest version.
Is this you in the picture?
Yeah, I wish. So, kind of rounding out the discussion here, we've added, previously there was a special page called Approved Revs that showed you all the approved revisions. Split that out into 2 pages now, so we've got approved files and approved pages, just because they kind of are different things, and it makes it easier to track them. So you can go here and see all files whose approved revision is not their latest. That'll allow you to see the ones that you have something you need to do on. So for us, in our weekly meeting, ideally this happens in our weekly meeting, our group will get together and we'll just look at the list and see if there's anything pending, and we can discuss those pending changes if we feel we need to, or we can, tell the person who has to do their job to go do their job. It's the benefit of using a wiki within an organization, is you can tell people to go do their job. So essentially, approved files and approved pages are basically the same thing, just for the 2 different concepts. One thing you'll see at the bottom is pages with invalid approvals. This concept is really the only thing that's holding up releasing this new revision. It's been being back and forth between Yaron and I on Garrett for months. It's basically how to handle if a page has an approval, but then somebody changes the settings so that the page is no longer approvable, how to handle that. So that last one there may end up disappearing based on how we deal with that situation. So with that, I've really got only one kind of future thing that I'm working on right now, and it actually isn't specific to Approved Revs. It's part of kind of another extension I'm working on, but that allows you to kind of manage your watch list a little bit better. Approved Revs, now that it's more spread out between different users as opposed to very centric to the admins, it's important to be able to let people know when they have approvals pending, so that they'll get to it and you don't just end up making the sysops go and do all their work. So one thing we're working on is basically making it so those pending approvals show up in the watch list, not simply as edits the way it does now, but as, hey, you've got something you need to do to make sure that the best version of the page is visible. And with that, I'll take questions. Yes. Sorry.
Oh, so not really a question, but a remark, actually a question. Are you aware of the Semantic Extra Special Properties extension, which provides a special property that stores the user that created the page?
I'm aware of it. I haven't used it myself. You see that being useful?
Well, you were manually creating such a property, so...
weren't really creating a property for who created it. We're simply saying that the creator of this page is able to approve this particular page. Versus, or are you talking about the is owner one, or?
I thought it was author.
Yeah. So there, I don't believe there was any place where we created a creator property. That was purely saying that for this particular namespace or category or page, the creator of any of these pages can approve the page. It's not really a specific property set, but I could see how those would be useful together. Specifically, being able to say, find pages where the creator is also an approver or something like that. The kind of is owner concept or author or whoever, who is the person setting a property, to say who's able to approve is something different, because I might create a page but then say that these people are the approvers of it.
I wondered whether you could query for those lists you showed with the pages with, where the latest version is not the approved version.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do that and further restrict the result to pages that I can approve.
Yeah, so that's kind of the part of the future development thing, is to be able to list those out in some way that allows people to know you have something you need to do. Now, will we do it in a parser function and make it possible for people to put it in a page somewhere, or will it just get put into the watch list? It's still a little bit, hasn't been determined yet, but it's something that needs to happen because people don't realize they have things they need to approve without being told. At least that's our experience. So.
Hi. Is it necessary to feedback now, to specify any particular namespace as being approvable, or could you rely solely on the approved Revs magic word, or a category-based system, or a template-based system?
We actually rely entirely on category. And I think maybe we have main page listed in there, but yeah, you can rely entirely on category. The magic word, I think we're going to probably deprecate that, because you might as well use categories versus using the magic word. It makes it a little easier to keep track of things. But absolutely, you can choose which types you want to use.
Any other questions?
So I can think of quite a few use cases where you would wish to approve automatically by a bot or something. Is there an API that I can use with approved revision?
There is not an API. One thing I didn't mention that is currently part of version 0.7 is that you can set automatic approvals. So if you make an edit to a page and you have approvability, you have the ability to approve the page, it'll just automatically approve it, so that you don't have to perform the extra action. But as far as being able to make a bot do it, I'm not aware of any way that we've specifically intended, though I'm sure you could find some way to do it. There was one.
Another question?
If a person doesn't have the right to write on a page due to namespace restrictions or page protection, could he still be able to approve the page?
That is not something I've considered, so that's something I'd have to think about. Yeah, if we have granted them approvability capabilities, approval capabilities, but they are not granted edit, I don't know of anything off the top of my head that would prevent them from doing that, but I'd have to think about that one a little bit more.
And a second question, do you know how the Approved Revs works with Scribuntu? Does it work in the module namespace correctly?
I don't know. I'll take a look into that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Thank you very much.